Today we will begin with the book of Yoga, the seventh book in Savitri. In the previous book, the book of Fate, Narad has disclosed the death of Satyavan 1 year after the marriage of Satyavan and Savitri. He also makes it very clear that it is a destined marriage, and although it might look to be calamitous, it is something which has to happen, which must happen. It is necessary for the further evolutionary advance. So Narad is not simply making an announcement of a calamitous event. In fact, he is in that way initiating Savitri into yoga. He is giving her diksha. Directly or indirectly, he has cast the seed of yoga in the soul of Savitri. One would in fact say that it is not just directly or indirectly, it is a deliberate, a purposeful action on his part. He takes the enormous trouble of coming all the way from his home in paradise to Madra at the most opportune moment when Savitri is going to disclose to her parents the choice she has made in Satyavan as her life's partner. So, just before she arrives to the palace, Narad is already present there 1 hour before her arrival. And then, in the course of what transpired between them all in the palace hall, unknown to anybody else except these four, Savitri, her parents, and of course Narad himself, that this year, this day returning, 1 year after the marriage, Satyavan must die. He says must die. He does not say will die, which is a very clear indication of a kind of a divine determination, divine determinism in the whole process. And as a part of that divine determinism, Narad himself comes here to make that announcement. And in the presence of her parents, who are great accomplished souls, he tells Savitri that this is something unique which is going to happen in the evolutionary history of the earth, and she must get prepared to undertake the task for which she had taken this particular birth. She has taken this birth, the divine force has incarnated with a certain mission, and now the moment has arrived that she must begin to accomplish her mission. So in that sense, he has already cast and occulted the seed of yoga in the soul of Savitri. And later on, he says, very prophetically, very emphatically, with enormous amount of significance put into the words, that no human will can intervene in what Savitri has determined to do. She is firm in her resolve, although she knows now that her husband is going to die 1 year after the marriage. She is going to stick to that, and she is going to meet fate. So Narad tells to Savitri's mother, Malavi, that she must leave her. Savitri's mother must leave Savitri. She must leave her to her mighty self and fate. The determination of fate is irrevocable. He has to die, he must die. Throughout the epic Savitri, we have this particular aspect as if kind of ringing in our ears everywhere. This day returning, Satyavan must die. Must die. In one of the talks in the 1940s, early 1940s, Shivendu was asked about by his attendants about this particular aspect, and he says very emphatically again that Satyavan has to die. He used the word has to die. Here of course he uses the word in Savitri, in the epic, must die. Both of them are exactly the same thing. Has to die, must die. Why he must die? Why he has to die? Because only then can the obstacle which is standing in the process of a divine manifestation be removed. The mind of night, standing across the path of the divine event, has to be displaced. And in order that that happens, Satyavan has to die. Why? Because that provides an occasion for Savitri to meet death face to face. It is not that she is here and death is in the occult world, that they are going to fight it out and remove death. They had to come face to face, confront each other. Then only she can win a victory over him. It is not by simply saying, death disappear. It's not a magic wand by which death is going to disappear. She has to meet him face to face, and only then she can wield her strength and remove this obstacle standing across the path of the divine event. Now, therefore, the entire crux of the matter is condensed in one single action. Satyavan must die. Savitri, therefore, has to meet death, and Savitri must win victory over death. So, Savitri has to prepare herself to win victory over death. For that purpose, she has to do yoga. The entire thrust of Savitri's yoga is to win victory over death. She must gather the divine force in her soul, and with that force confront death and vanquish him. That can happen only when Savitri is occult yogically prepared to do that. That is why we can say that again, Narad comes here to give Diksha to Savitri. He initiates her on the path of yoga. And Savitri is now set to do that yoga. Well, this is the general basis of why Savitri has to do yoga. Now, this particular book, in fact, as I said earlier, as I read in the line from Savitri, Narad tells to Savitri's mother, leave her to her mighty self and wait. Mighty self. She can become really mighty when she has imbibed in her soul the power of the Mahashakti. When that is present in her soul, then she can meet death. She can face fate. So therefore, doing yoga becomes an imperative in the case of Savitri. She must do yoga. Now when we see this title of the book, Book 7, the Book of Yoga, it is the yoga very specific to Savitri. This yoga is meant for Savitri. It is not for you, for me, for we. Certainly, it is not for me. This yoga is specific to Savitri. She has to gather force in her soul and meet death, to conquer death. The task of Savitri's yoga is to win victory over death. Now, that is not our task. Our task is of a different kind. Our yoga will be of a different nature. It is not the same yoga which we can follow. In fact, it is impossible for us to do the yoga Savitri is going to do. It is a very unique yoga which Savitri alone can do it. As a matter of fact, we can stretch the argument a little further and say that this yoga, which is so unique to Savitri, cannot be done even by Ashwapati. It is so unique to Savitri alone. It is an occult battle, and it is only the power of the Almighty Mother who can enter into the occult field and accomplish the task for which she herself incarnates here as Savitri. Ashwapati does not incarnate himself here for that purpose. His incarnation is of a different nature. His incarnation is to prepare the necessary ground for the birth of Savitri. He has to establish the divine presence in all the parts of the universe, and it is on the basis of that presence of the divine everywhere that Savitri can do her yoga and can win victory over death. So the role of Ashwapati is to establish the divine presence everywhere, to invoke the birth of divine Savitri here. He compels her to pass to the portals of the birth, that is a death. She has to take the mortal birth. Savitri has to take the mortal birth and do this work. Now, some little background about how this book of yoga was composed by Shevendra, by the yogi poet. There is absolutely no parallel of this kind of yoga anywhere in the spiritual, occult or yogic literature. This is absolutely unique to Savitri itself. This book was not existent before 1946. In fact, in one of his letters to Amal Kiran, Sri Aurobindo says that he has yet to begin the book of yoga. We can say that he started drafting this particular book sometime around 1947. And his draft consisted of not more than 1000 lines at that time. The final version which we have got here has 3165 lines. In the 1950 edition, 3165 lines. In the revised edition, we have 5 additional lines, 3172 lines. Additional 7 lines. Now this draft in Sri Aurobindo's handwriting was, as I said, a rough draft. And I got some details here. Let me just read them out here. This is a pretty long book, about 90 pages in the centenary edition, 3172 lines in the revised edition, minus 5 in the 1950 version. This was essentially written in 1947. Sri Aurobindo used a diary-like book, a small diary-like book of about 7 inches by 4.5 inches size. 7 inches height, 4.5 inches width, roughly. 7 inches by 4.5 inches of about 200 pages. His handwriting is difficult to read, difficult to decipher at this stage. Earlier handwriting was very beautiful, very clear, very distinct. But in 1947, his scribbling overflowed from one line to the other, one word into the other word like that. 200 pages, handwriting is difficult to decipher. A lot of pages remained unused. Out of this 200, a number of pages were not used at all, they remained blank. The lines were quickly written with large spacings in between, one line here, one line here, one line here like that, because he could not see things properly. His eyesight had become weak, but he had somehow kind of scribbled those lines. The lines were quickly written with large spacing in between, about 12 to 15 lines per page. This version is of the nature of a rough draft. He wanted to kind of capture the main theme, the main inspiration which is there behind it, and use that as the basis for developing the entire book. Broad outlines used for dictation. So it is this particular basis became the starting point for composing the final version of the Book of Yoga, which was all by dictation from this point onwards. In other words, these lines were read out to Sri Aurobindo, and on the basis of these lines, he should dictate new lines to Nirodbaran, who was attending on him for this work. There are changes here and there in Nirod's hand, even in this draft. In other words, while the draft was being read out to Sri Aurobindo, he had dictated few alterations, revisions, changes in the text. The total composition may not be more than 1000 lines in this particular draft form. Later on, almost after 1 year or so, it became 3 times, 3167 lines. Now, the copy text, which is used for the purposes of final composition, is on a scribbling pad. The dictation which is given to Nirodharan, on which the paper, where the dictation was taken down, that was on a scribbling pad. Nirodharan's handwriting is very neat, very clean, very beautiful also, very, very unlike the handwriting of a doctor. See? So in that sense he was never a doctor, see. His handwriting was the handwriting of a scribe, perfect scribe. Copy text is in Nirod's hand and is on a scribbling pad, neatly written and not much alterations in the dictation. And both sides of the paper were used. It is a scribbling pad, on both the sides the dictation was taken down. In those days, there was a shortage of papers and they had to economize on the use of paper. So, the scribbling pad was used for dictation and both the sides of the paper were used for that purpose, the same. The scribbling pad is roughly of the size of 9 inches by 6 inches, approximately the size of a standard book now, see. 9 inches by 6 inches. Later on, this dictated passage, this dictated version, as it progressed, were typed out by Nalini. And of course, these typed scripts were again read out to Shabendo, in which he once more made changes, revisions, alterations. He kept on adding at every stage new things in the text. Now, the title to the Canto 7 is missing in all the earlier editions of Savitri prior to the revised edition, 1993. But it is present there in Shabendu's draft, in one of his drafts. And the title is The Discovery of the Cosmic Spirit and Cosmic Consciousness. In fact, the beginning of this canto, Canto 7 of Book 7, in the manuscript has 2 drafts. And it is in one of the drafts that this title is present. The draft which was used for finalizing the text was the other draft where this title was not present. And therefore they said that the title was not given by the author, you see. But later on when the drafts were compared, the title was there in the other draft, you see. And this has now been restored in the revised edition. The beginning of the canto in the manuscript has 2 drafts. On one, the title is written. There are 2 versions, but these 2 versions should be compared carefully before accepting this or that. Which one to be accepted as the final version is still a point which should be looked into more carefully. Should be compared carefully and also with the typescript. These 2 manuscript drafts plus the typescript plus the revision. All this should be properly compared before we can say that yes, this is the final draft of Canto 7 of Book 7, the Book of Yoga, the last canto. About 25 years ago or so, when Savitri revisions were being scrutinized, many of these points came in our discussion. Myself, Richard, Amal Kiran, and Nirobran, we used to meet regularly and go through all these details, entry by entry, and check the appropriateness of various entries. There are differences in the opinion, in the choices made in the text, but finally the decision was left to Nirodharan and Amalkiran. That should not still mean that that could be taken as the last word, the authoritative word. As a matter of fact, it is necessary that these be examined in more detail, with greater care, and with a kind of a completeness. After all, most of those meetings were scheduled meetings, and there was not much time for going into many details, seeing various drafts and various possibilities and things of that kind. They were, in a certain sense, done in a hurry. That hurry should not be present now. With all the time, with all the resources at our disposal, it is necessary that a thorough rechecking of all those entries be done once more. Well, basically at this point I can only say that the Book of Yoga came very late in the composition of Savitri. In other words, it has in it the entire yogic component, the yogic realization of Shivendu and the mother till as late as 1947, which is not present in the earlier writings. So from that angle, it is, we can say, the completest, the most authentic, the most exhaustive formulation of the yogic aspects of Shivendu and the mother. And it is that which becomes extremely valuable to us. So again, it becomes necessary for us, with great patience, with great understanding, with great composition, with deep peace in our mind and our soul, we look into those drafts, into those compositions, and see what best is possible from our angle. They have done the job, but there are certain things which need also got to be done even now. And it is that opening for which one could look forward. So, Book 7, the Book of Yoga, the first canto, the very first line is a very simple line, but it is also a very complex line, very difficult line. There are layers of meaning in one single line. Fate followed her foreseen immutable road. There is no complicated word here. Fate followed her foreseen immutable road. It is a very straightforward kind of a statement, but it is loaded with several shades of meaning. It is one of those lines which opens out the occult, the spiritual, the ideal, the structural, the conceptual profundities that are present in Savitri. See, for instance, the very first line of the epic. It was the hour before the gods awake. It was the hour before the gods awake. There is absolutely no complicated statement here. It is a very simple, straightforward declaration, narrative of what is going to follow. But to understand the meaning of this particular line, it was the hour before the gods awake. To grasp the significance of this line, you had to know the whole of Savitri. As if the entire Savitri is condensed in this particular line. Like that, there are a number of lines in Savitri. The last line of the Canto, first Canto itself. This was the day when Satyavan must die. This was the day when Satyavan must die. Again, there is absolutely nothing complicated in this line. Very plain, simple statement, narrative. It was the hour before the gods awake. This was the day when Satyavan must die. Fate followed her, foreseen immutable road. See, all these three lines are perfect lines. They are end-stop lines, a single sentence line, and very plain statements. But as I said, the layers of meaning which are hidden in these lines reveal the richness of the composition of Savitri. It is very rarely that as if the entire spirituality, the occultism, the literary background for the author is compressed in a statement like this. It was the hour before the gods awake has a very deep occult dimension. Basically, it relates to the entire story of creation. Why this world was created, what is it meant for, what is going to happen here, what is the purpose behind it. The whole thing is condensed in one single statement here. In the same way, this was the day when Satyavan must die. As if there is a kind of a problem, a great issue, and in order that that issue is resolved, this man has to die. What is the relationship of that issue and of this death? That is something which is very deep and profound. And the poet, the yogi, has in one single sentence indicated all those dimensions in one single line. In the same way, fate followed her foreseen immutable road. As if the entire working of the secret nature or the play of forces operating in the universe, as if something which is deep, philosophical, is getting expressed here. There is certainly very deep in this line. Fate followed her in beautiful road. What is fate? What is road? Who is this her? What is immutable about it? Who has foreseen this road? See, all these questions suddenly arise. Fate followed her foreseen immutable road. Fate has followed whose road? Is it her own road? Fate is following. That fate cannot but follow that road. That if the road is marked, nothing can change on that road, and fate must walk on that particular road. Is it that? Or is it fate who is following the immutable road of Savitri? Is it fate's own road, or fate is following the road which was foreseen for Savitri? That question remains unresolved. If you simply read this particular line, her stands for whom? Is it for fate or for Savitri? And who has foreseen this road? Somebody is already having that knowledge, and he knows that, well, this is how things will happen. Why? For what purpose? That is not disclosed at all in this particular line. Fate followed her, foreseen in beautiful road. That is the philosophical tone of the line. Deep philosophy, essentially of the Greek kind, is present in this particular line. Fate cannot but follow her own road. Savitri cannot but follow the road marked out for her. Now, in order to understand the implications of this particular phrase, we have to know a lot of things. See, for instance, in the previous canto, the book of fate, Narad is telling to Savitri's mother, give her to her side and her fate. Savitri's mother is told very firmly, sorry, we have no place at all to be present in what Savitri is going to do. Give her to her side, to her spirit, to her soul, to her destiny, to her fate. You have absolutely no place in the unfolding of those events. Again, the line closes the word to her fate, to Savitri's fate, to her fate. So there, the connection with her fate is explicit. It is very clear that Savitri has to follow her own fate. Her destiny, her line of action proper to her own soul, she must follow, and nobody else has any part to play in it. It has no business to be present there at all. So let her follow her own road. That is the kind of freedom she must have, and you cannot snatch away the freedom of Savitri. That is what Narad is telling to Savitri's mother. Leave her to her mighty self and fate. Mighty self. Savitri is only somebody very big, very powerful, very strong, who can definitely face fate. So we have no business to be there. After all, you are a small human creature, and the things which are going to happen are on a different scale altogether, on the cosmic dimension. You have no place there at all. So, leave her to her mighty self and fate. Now, is it the same fate which Narada is speaking of in this line? Fate followed her, forcing in beautiful robe. That is the last line of the previous canto. This is the first line of the next canto. The book of Yoga follows immediately the book of fate. So, is there a connection between the fate of this canto and the fate of that canto? Possibly, there could be a connection. It's very likely also. But if we see from a certain chronological point of view, we have another aspect which can be very puzzling. This particular line, the last line of Narada's speech in the book of Fate, give her to her mighty self and fate, is absolutely the last line dictated by Savitri around 15th November 1950. This line was dictated middle of November 1950. In other words, the last word which he uttered, the poet, the yogi uttered, was her fate. Mighty self and her fate. Fate is the last word Savitri has uttered in his dictation of Savitri, the last composition of Savitri. Whereas this particular line, as we have seen last time, or in the book of Yoga, the first line, fate followed her immutable ocean road, belongs to the 1947 period of composition. The book of Yoga was drafted by him in 1947. So, to connect this particular line of 1947 to the other line of 1950 will not be really proper also. So, to see a connection between this line and that line, we have to see something else. Fate followed her, forcing the beautiful road, give her to her mighty self and fate. They are not directly the same thing. Now, this word fate appears in Savitri in a number of places. As a possessive noun, as a noun, as a compound, as an adjectival word in various combinations. The total number of occurrences of fate and fate-related words in Savitri are 254. The number of times this word fate appears in all is 254. Now, fate proper itself appears total 16 times. Fates as a possessive noun 14 times. Fates as a plural once. Fate driven, fate man as a compound 6 times. Fated 5 times. Faithful 12 times. So if you see it like that, then the occurrence of fate is very common, so to say, in Savitri. Total number of times its appearance is 254. The first occurrence of this word fate itself is in the first canto. The lines are, earth being abandoned in the hollow gulls, December dawn. He is describing the condition of the earth. Earth being abandoned in the hollow gulls, forgetful of her spirit and her fate. What is her fate going to be? Earth herself does not know. She is wheeling around in the terms of spaces abandoned, as if nobody is there to take care of her, forgetful of her spirit and her fate. That is the first occurrence of the word fate in Savitri. Then of course we have a couple of more important occurrences of this word fate. We have her soul arose confronting time and fate. Savitri's condition is transcendently described in the symbol dawn, in the issue, as something which she has to accomplish. Her soul arose confronting time and fate. That is the crucial occurrence of the word fate as far as Savitri is concerned. She is face to face with death, and her mighty spirit arises, and she has accepted the challenge thrown by death to her, and she has to win victory over him. Therefore, her soul arose, confronting time and fate, Kala and Niyati. Both of them she is facing, Kala and Niyati. She is facing both of them simultaneously. That is a very crucial statement on part of Savitri. Then the mighty mother herself occupies the incarnate Savitri's sacred principle, and she is showing herself fully to Yama, death, the ordainer of this cosmic world at the moment, of this Mrityuluka, the Lord of this mortal world, Mrityuluka. But there is something very loaded also in the context of this fate. See, Ashwapati has done long and arduous yoga tapasya. In the Mahabharata story, Ashwapati was engaged in doing tapasya for 18 years. He slew Savitri Yajna and offered her oblations every day, thousands and thousands of oblations every day. At the end of the 18 years period, this goddess Savitri appears in front of him in the fire altar. On Yajna Kunda, she rises and gives him blessings. Use him dancing a boom. Yes, tell me what you want. Why you are engaged in this yoga tapasya. And then of course Ashwapati tells that in Shivandu Savitri that she must herself incarnate here upon this world, this mortal world. She must take a human birth. She must condescend to pass the portals of the birth, that is the death. She must accept birth and death in order to solve the problem of this mortality, of this mortal creation. Then only it is a solution possible. She must incarnate herself here. Then only there is a possibility of the divine manifestation. That is the boon Ashwapati demands from the divine goddess. And what does she say? Yes, I shall do that. He grants him the boon. And she says, yes, I shall take the mortal birth. I shall incarnate myself as your daughter. And she says, once I had taken that birth, fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. Means the action of fate is already incorporated, embedded in the divine boon. Fate shall be changed. The working of the cosmic nature here has to take a different turn. What is being governed by the present cosmic forces shall not be anymore governed by the cosmic forces. It is not that niyati which will operate in sorrow. Therefore, fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. She will come with a determination, with a sankalpa, with a power, with a strength to change fate itself. That is what Savitri assures Ashwapati, the divine Savitri, goddess Savitri assures Ashwapati. And she takes birth as his daughter to change fate by an unchanging will. She will do yoga tapasya. She will do her yoga and gather power in her soul to change this fate. This fate has to change, an unchanging will. Now again here also they got the same thing. Fate followed her, foreseeing immutable growth, unchanging, immutable growth. Fate is following next. Again, as I told you earlier also, this time, Narada is assuring, he is rather firmly telling Savitri's mother, sorry, you have no place to stand between her and her fate. She is sufficiently strong. She has a mighty self, and that mighty self knows how to face fate. That is what Narada has firmly told the small, frail human creature. There are divine powers, there are occult agencies, there are big gods who are behind all these operations, and you have no place at all in their working. Fate should be changed by an unchanging will. You are your mighty self and your fate. So that is how we have already some kind of a connection of fate with the previous descriptions in Savitri. And they definitely get linked up with this particular line. Fate followed her, foreseen immutable truth. They definitely get linked up with that. Yet the question arises, what is fate? Who has foreseen her road? Who is this her? Now, fate is a goddess. Is a personified goddess. And therefore, calling her fate followed her. This goddess is following her road and not Savitri's road. It's quite understandable. Fate, the goddess, is following her own road. Who is bothered about Savitri or anybody else for that matter? She has to follow her road. The road has already been marked out for her that these things should now happen. Time has arrived for the unfoldment of these events. There has to be now the beginning of a higher manifestation in the mortal world. Time has arrived. That is the foreseen road, transcendentally foreseen, and fate has to follow that road. There is no shortcut for that. Immutable road. Yes, it must happen. A new manifestation must take place. The supramental descent is decreed and inevitable. in the course of the Earth's evolution. That is the life message of Sri Aurobindo. The entire Yoga Siddhi is embedded in this particular message of his. The supramental descent is a thing decreed and inevitable in the course of the earthly evolution. So that is already foreseen transcendentally. Here also the road is foreseen transcendentally. But again, we can also connect this thing, this line, with the storyline. Narada is coming, he is making a statement, 12 years after the marriage, 12 months after the marriage, our husband will die. He must die. This is decreed that he is making the statement. And he is also saying that this is for a certain purpose, that this must happen. This is the kind of statement he is making. In other words, in the storyline, Narada has already foreseen the road it is to follow. It is Narada who has foreseen the road in the development of the life of Savitri, who has taken a human birth. He is foreseen that road. It is an immutable road. After 12 months, he must die. That is what it says. In fact, Narada is an exceptional being. He has the faculty of seeing the movements of time in all the three dimensions: the past, the present, the future. He has the triple sight. He knows the entire past. He knows the present. He has come here in the present to tell something to Savitri. He knows what is going to happen tomorrow, 1 year after, etc. Narada has what we call three-kala drishti, the vision of threefold time, the past, the present, the future. He at once knows, and therefore he has foreseen the road already. Yes, this is to happen, this is to happen, this is to happen. So in the storyline you can say it is Narada who has foreseen the road. The beautiful road for what? Where it will lead, the destiny, that is another matter. But as far as the line alone is concerned, these are the implications of it. There are philosophical, there are metaphysical, there are occult, there are spiritual, there are aesthetic, there are literary dimensions in this particular line. Let us say, fate followed her, forcing a beautiful road. It's a very rich and very powerful line. So this line itself looks so simple. Fate followed her, foreseeing a beautiful road. Who is this her? Who has foreseen it? Why it is immutable? Where is that road going to go? All those things are implied in this particular line. Each word has to be weighed fully and its significance given full weightage. And perhaps in that process, we might be able to get some kind of a glimpse of what is there behind this line. So, we will continue to look into the very first line of the canto. It is a long line, long in the sense, the kind of contents it has, and the shades, the depths, the occult significances, the metaphysical associations which it has, they are kind of endless. Everything is compressed in one single line. Fate followed her, foreseen in beautiful road. And we are trying to look at this line as who is this her, who has foreseen the road, why the road is immutable, who is fate. These are important questions in the context of things which are going to happen. Savitri has come with a certain mission, and there are uncertainties of events. It is not unidirectional shooting of an arrow going from one point to the other point, but it has to pass through meandering courses of time and space and occult realms of nature, and every aspect of it enters into play. That is why the line becomes rich also. Fate followed her, forcing immutable road. Well, from the point of view of mythical quality of the line, we can say that there is a kind of an insistent alliteration. Fate followed, forcing, F is as in purposely repeated. Also we have got here followed, immutable, L alliteration, which is important. Then there is R alliteration also. Her, forcing, road, the occurrence of R 3 times, the occurrence of L, the occurrence of F is something which gives you a different quality. And the poet is at his best in exploiting all the aspects of poetic technique in presenting this line. At the same time, as we saw earlier, this is an end-stopped line. Of course, mostly the lines of Savitri are end-stopped lines, but this is a single line sentence. The sense, the meaning, everything is completed in one single line. It doesn't run into a set of lines, a paragraph, a stanza, which is not uncommon in Savitri. There are at times hundreds of words in one particular sentence in Savitri. But here you have very few words and the line is end stop, ending with itself. In other words, every sense of the meaning is compacted into one single sentence. Now, last time we were saying that followed her forcing immutable road. Who is forcing the immutable road? And one of the suggestions is that it could be Narad. If we go by the vision, by the storyline of Savitri, then it is Narad who had foreseen the event about the death of Satyavan, and things had to happen along that road, which is fixed. This is decreed. Nothing can change that. It is fixed. It is immutable. So the verdict has come already. Therefore, if it is Narad, then it could also mean that fate followed her. Her could in that case mean Savitri. It is the road taken by Savitri, which is being followed by fate. Means fate is constantly pursuing Savitri on her immutable road, which is not untrue also. In that case, it is Savitri who is really going to make or shape her fate. It is fate who is going to follow her road. Savitri is not going to follow the road to the fate. So that makes no difference. She is going to determine whatever is going to happen. And in that sense, fate becomes a sort of a subordinate power compared to the power which Savitri is possessing in herself, in her soul. Well, this is definitely possible, but at this point of time, it appears to be the other way around. It is actually Savitri who is following the road which is fixed for her. Fate followed her, means fate followed her own road. Yes, this is how I am going to go. Fate is saying, this is how I will go. This is my immutable road. Nothing can change it. Either you are there or not, whether this power is there or not, whether death is not, it's not going to matter to me at all. I am going to follow this road and things are going to happen along this road. In other words, fate becomes a feminine, which is perfectly understandable. Feminine because she is a goddess. She is a superior power and therefore she herself has the capacity to determine her own road and the course of events. Now, this sense also becomes significant from another angle. At this point of time, when this line is being introduced here by the poet, it is obvious that Savitri has not done her yoga to make fate follow her road, Savitri's road. That will happen when Savitri is going to do the yoga. Then she will compel every power in the creation to follow whatever she is going to build. That will happen later on. So at this point of time, you can simply say that this fate is actually the superior power who is going to determine the course of events for Savitri. And in this course of events, each is foreseen by Narada. He has, as I said earlier, Trikala Drishti, the vision of all the three parts of time, the past, the present, the future. And therefore he knows what is going to happen tomorrow. In fact, it is for that purpose he comes all the way to tell Savitri, look, this is what is going to happen tomorrow to you and be prepared. Get ready. This is what he will tell to Savitri. As I said earlier, in that sense, Savitri is being given initiation into yoga by Narada. Or we can say that Narada is her first guru to initiate her on the path of yoga. And the yoga is yoga or the conquest of death. So Narada is taking the responsibility, so to say, to initiate Savitri on this path. He has that adhikar, power, authority to do that. He is one in the consciousness of Vishnu. He is seen everywhere, the work of his Vishnu being carried out, and it is with that consciousness, whatever he does, he will do with authority, with power, with conviction. In fact, that is one of the reasons why he comes all the way from his home in paradise, from Vishnu's palace to Ashwapati's palace in Mathura. He is here just before the arrival of Savitri, 1 hour before she arrives to the palace, and then he discloses what is going to happen. Now, about this Savitri being told regarding the future time and all that, we can see how Narada is significant in this whole game, in this whole unfoldment of events. We had a very pertinent description in the Book of Fate, Canto 2. See, Savitri's mother is questioning the fate of her daughter. Why she is being greeted with this kind of a gift? She is a noble girl, she is a holy princess, powerful person, with all the noble qualities, why fate is cruel to her that her husband should die 1 year after the marriage. So she questions Narada about that thing, and she even asks him, is this your God who has created this miserable world? This miserable world, this calamitous world, full of difficulties, full of conflicts. Is this your God who has created this world? What kind of God is he? She is questioning him bluntly. And in response to that, Narada prepares in a very dignified, quiet, silent manner and answers her. This is a very beautiful passage. If you can quickly read. Then, after the silence, Narada made reply. After the questioning by Savitri's mother, after the silence, Narada makes the reply. Now, it does not mean that Narada does not have an immediate reply, that he is kind of trying to collect his own ideas and going to answer shortly to Savitri's mother. It is not that kind of a silence. It is not that silence for him. He already knows the answer. He could immediately say this, and tell all the facts to her. So, when he says, after the silence, Narada made reply. Why this after the silence? Because he wants Savitri's mother, Malavi, to quieten down. She is agitated, she is disturbed, she is not in a position to accept the fate of her daughter. So, under that condition, if you tell her something, she will straight away reject. Nonsense. I don't believe in that kind of a thing. She will say that. But he is allowing her to quieten down. After the silence, he gives purposeful silence so that she becomes quiet. She gathers herself into herself to receive what Narada is going to tell her. Then, after the silence, Narada made reply. Turning his lips to earthly sound, he spoke. He already knows the answer, but he has to give the answer in terms, in phrases, in idioms, which we can understand. Sound, he spoke. Turning his lips to earthly sound, which you can hear. There are other subtle sounds which you cannot hear. So only those sounds which we can hear, it is in that word he is going to explain to Savitri's mother. Turning his lips to earthly sound, he spoke, and something now of the deep sense of fate. What is the fate behind it? Something now of the deep sense of fate. Break the fragile hands of mortal speech. So earthly sound, it is on that speech something kind of insignificant, but which is really loaded with deep sense of faith. It is that he is going to speak out. And something now of the deep sense of faith, weigh the fragile hands of mortal speech. His forehead shone with vision, solemnized, like a rishi, well composed. The full vision is there in front of him. He is bright, luminous, and now he has to present himself with that vision. His forehead shone with vision, solemnized, turned to a tablet of supernal thoughts, as if characters of an unwilling tongue had left in its breath the inscription to the gods, something which is not visible to us. It is that inscription to the gods, it is that which he is going to see, and it is that which he is going to reveal. There in that light, his forehead shone. There in that light, time toiled. That is a deep sense of faith. The time itself is toiling. Behind that is a deeper faith which is working in it. Turn there in that light, time toiled. His unseen works detected. The unseen works of time were detected. By whom? By Narada. Time is moving in a certain direction. It has taken a certain course. It must move on. And Narada sees what is there behind that moment of time. There in that light, time toiled, his unseen works detected. So Narada has detected a deep sense of faith, and it is that which was foreseen. Faith followed her, foreseen in beautiful robe. Narada has detected the unseen moment of time, the deep sense of faith, and it is that which he would reveal. So the line is immediately getting connected with this description which we have here of Narada. Now, this is something very significant also because, as I said, this Trikala Drishti has a greater inevitability which we can't see. Only when great things are going to happen to great people, that great persons like Narada come down here and participate. So Narada has foreseen the immutable road. He must rush to Mathura and inform Savitri, come on Savitri, get ready now. The moment is going to soon arrive. Now, we have the description of fate on a few other occasions also. Fate as feminine. I will give you a couple of examples where fate is treated as feminine, as a power, as a goddess. And therefore, fate followed her, means her own road. That is what it means. See, Satyavan and Savitri have met in the Shalva woods, and immediately in their souls they recognize their ancient identity, their oneness. The one for whom she was looking through lands, through events of time, here is now standing in front of her. And therefore, as the storyline goes, Savitri is meeting Satyavan and she is asking him, who are you? Why you are here in this wild forest? Your youth demands a greater status, a kingdom. You look like a prince, and why you are living here in the forest? And in response to that, Satyavan replies who he is, about his father, and how he lost his kingdom, and how they were exiled, and how Satyavan was here in the forest. He grew in the company of the forest rishis, sages. In days when yet his sight looked clear on light. Devasena had beautiful sight earlier, but he has lost his light. In days when yet his sight looked clear on light, came Devasena. Once the Shalva ran through all the track which from behind his tops, passing his days of emerald delight. His trusting converse with the traveler wends, turns, looking back to the southern heaven. He is describing the landscape and he tells her, and he sprang upon the music. He was a king, he said. But equal fate, as he was a king by fate, so to say, equal fate removed her covering hand. She took away the gifts she had given to him. Equal fate removed her covering hand. Here he says very distinctly clearly, equal fate removed her covering hand. Fate is feminine. It is fate who had taken away the sight of Devasena. Again, for what purpose? Well, we have become wise and we can try to connect all those things, so to say, because he had to be exiled, he had to live in the forest hermitage, he had to bring up his son in the company of the rishis. It is here that Satyavan is to be Savitri. So, in a very long but definite manner, fate was working with a definite intention. It was not for nothing that the eyesight of Devasena was lost. The meeting with Satyavan and Savitri had to take place in the forest. All these things had to happen.